The champagne glasses were still full when I decided to ruin my mother-in-law's retirement party. 65 years old. And Gloria had spent the last 2 years convincing everyone she was finally slowing down, taking it easy, living off the modest pension my late father-in-law had worked 30 years to build. Meanwhile, my husband and I had drained our daughter's college fund to cover a debt that never existed. Let me back up. I married Michael 7 years ago. His father, Frank, was the kind of man who balanced a checkbook every Sunday morning and clipped coupons without shame. He drove the same truck for 15 years, wore the same watch his wife gave him on their anniversary, and somehow managed to save $400,000 in a retirement account that he left entirely to his 2 children when pancreatic cancer took him 3 years ago. Michael got $200,000. His older sister, Jenna, got the other half. Gloria had never been like Frank. Where he saved, she spent. Where he planned, she improvised. But Frank had always kept things in check, managing the household finances with a quiet discipline that kept Gloria's shopping habits from ever becoming a real problem. When he died, that discipline died with him. The first sign of trouble came about 6 months after the funeral. Michael got a call from his mother on a Tuesday evening. I was giving our daughter, Lily, a bath when I heard him talking in the kitchen, his voice tight and strained in a way I hadn't heard before. What did she say? I asked when he hung up. He rubbed the back of his neck the way he does when something's bothering him. Mom says we owe her $60,000. Apparently Dad loaned it to us 2 years ago to help with the down payment on this house. She found the paperwork in his desk. I turned off the faucet. Lily splashed in protest, but I barely noticed. Michael, your dad never loaned us money for this house. We saved for 3 years. I have every bank statement. He held up his phone. She sent me photos of the transfer receipts. 2 deposits, $30,000 each, 6 months apart. They went into our joint checking account. That's when my stomach dropped. Not because I believed Gloria, but because I could already see the trap. Our joint checking account, the one Frank had helped Michael set up when he was 19, still had Gloria listed as a secondary signer. It was one of those things we'd always meant to fix but never got around to. Frank had been the one managing Gloria's access, and after he passed, we just forgot. I spent that night going through 2 years of bank statements on my laptop while Michael slept. It took me until 3 a.m., but I found them. 2 deposits of $30,000 each, just like Gloria described. But when I traced the source, they didn't come from Frank's accounts. They came from Gloria's personal savings, routed through a shared account she and Frank had maintained, then deposited into our joint account and withdrawn the same day. The withdrawals went right back to an account in Gloria's name only, one I'd never seen before. She had essentially transferred money to herself, using our account as a pass-through, and then created a paper trail that made it look like we'd received and spent a $60,000 loan. I wanted to confront her that night. I wanted to drive to her house in my pajamas and bang on her door until she admitted what she'd done. But I'd learned something about Gloria over 7 years of marriage. She was at her most dangerous when cornered. She'd twist the story, cry on cue, and somehow make Michael feel guilty for doubting her. She'd done it before, the time I caught her using our Amazon account to order $800 worth of skincare products, and she convinced Michael I must have ordered them myself and forgotten. So instead of confronting her, I started building a case. Over the next 4 months, I documented everything. I requested detailed transaction records from the bank. I screenshot every suspicious transfer. I tracked Gloria's spending through her social media, where she posted with the oblivious confidence of someone who believed nobody was paying attention. A new kitchen renovation. A week in Sedona at a luxury resort. A shopping haul from Nordstrom that she captioned treating myself because self-care isn't selfish. Meanwhile, Michael and I were making monthly payments of $1,200 to his mother for a loan we never received. I let the payments continue because stopping them would have tipped Gloria off. But every transfer felt like swallowing glass. That money was supposed to go into Lily's $529 college fund. Instead, it was funding Gloria's spa weekends. The hardest part was watching Michael struggle. He picked up overtime shifts at the engineering firm. He stopped buying his morning coffee. He canceled our anniversary dinner reservation because he said we couldn't afford it, not while we still owed his mother money. And every time I almost told him the truth, I stopped myself. Not because I enjoyed the secret, but but because I needed the evidence to be so overwhelming that even Gloria's tears couldn't wash it away. Then, in October, I found something that changed everything. I'd been going through Frank's old email account. Michael had given me the password months ago to help sort out some insurance paperwork. Buried in the sent folder, dated just 2 weeks before Frank died, was an email to his attorney. It read, in part, I need to update my will. Gloria has been withdrawing from the joint account without my knowledge. I've documented $35,000 in unauthorized transfers over the past year. I want to ensure the children's inheritance is protected. Frank knew. He'd known what Gloria was doing, and he'd tried to stop it. But cancer moved faster than lawyers. I printed that email and added it to my file, which by now filled an entire folder on my laptop, organized by date, cross-referenced with Gloria's social media posts, and backed up to a cloud drive Gloria didn't know existed. I also discovered something else. Jenna, Michael's sister, had been making payments too, $800 a month, for what Gloria told her was a $40,000 loan Frank had made to help Jenna's husband, Derek, start his landscaping business. Jenna had never mentioned it to us because Gloria told her not to discuss family finances with outsiders, which apparently included me. I called Jenna on a Thursday afternoon when I knew Gloria was at her weekly book club. Jenna, I said carefully, how much has Mom told you that you owe from Dad's loan? The silence on the other end lasted long enough that I thought the call had dropped. How did you know about that? She finally asked. Because she's doing the same thing to us. And I can prove none of it is real. Jenna cried for 20 minutes. She told me that Derek had been working 70-hour weeks trying to grow the business fast enough to cover the loan payments. That their marriage had nearly broken over the financial stress, that she'd considered selling their house. We need to tell Michael and Derek, I said. Not yet, Jenna replied, and I heard a hardness in her voice I'd never heard before. Mom's retirement party is in 3 weeks. The whole family will be there. I want her to explain herself in front of everyone. I understood the impulse, but I also knew the risks. If we confronted Gloria publicly without airtight evidence, she'd play the victim. She'd cry about Frank. She'd accuse us of ganging up on a grieving widow. We needed to be surgical. So for 3 weeks, Jenna and I prepared. We organized the bank records chronologically. We printed Gloria's social media posts with timestamps. We got a notarized copy of Frank's email to his attorney. And we actually practiced, staying calm when Gloria inevitably tried to redirect, deflect, or dissolve into tears. The party was at Gloria's house, the house Frank had paid off 20 years ago. She'd redecorated since his death, replacing his leather recliner with a white sectional, swapping his hunting prints for abstract art, installing new marble countertops that probably cost more than our car. 40 people showed up. Gloria's friends from book club, neighbors, a few cousins. She wore a new dress, sage green silk, and matching earrings that I mentally added to my spreadsheet. She'd hired a caterer. She'd rented champagne flutes. She'd printed menus on cardstock. Isn't this lovely? My mother said, looking around. Gloria really knows how to throw a party. She really does, I said, and my voice didn't waver at all. The plan was to wait until after dinner, when the casual guests had filtered out and only family remained. But Gloria accelerated the timeline herself. It happened during dessert. She stood up, tapped her glass with a fork the way people do in movies, and made a little speech. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight, she said, her voice carrying that practiced warmth she'd perfected over decades. Retirement isn't easy, especially after losing Frank. But family makes it bearable. She paused, looked directly at Michael. Even when family sometimes forgets their obligations. Michael stiffened beside me. A few of Gloria's friends exchanged uncomfortable glances. Speaking of which, Gloria continued, smiling like she was delivering a punchline, I do hope we can settle up those outstanding family loans soon. Your father would have wanted everything handled properly. She said it lightly, like a joke, but the message was clear. She was publicly shaming us for not paying fast enough. In front of 40 people. Michael opened his mouth, probably to apologize. He always apologized when Gloria pressed. But I was faster. Actually, I said, standing up. Since you brought it up, Gloria, I think now is a perfect time to discuss those loans. The room went quiet. Gloria's smile flickered but held. Sweetheart, this isn't the time or place. You just made it the time and place, I replied calmly. You mentioned it in front of everyone. So let's talk about it in front of everyone. Jenna stood up across the table. I'd like to hear this too, Mom. Gloria's eyes darted between us. For the first time in 7 years, I saw something crack behind her composure. I reached into my bag and pulled out a folder. Not a manila envelope, just a plain blue folder from the office supply store. Inside was 6 months of work. Gloria, I began, you told Michael that Dad loaned us $60,000 for our house down payment. You showed him transfer receipts as proof. What you didn't tell him is that those transfers were from your account, routed through the joint account you shared with Frank, deposited into our checking account, and withdrawn back to your personal account on the same day. I slid the first set of bank records across the table. Michael picked them up. His face went pale as he read. That can't be right, Gloria said quickly. Those records are wrong. The bank made a mistake. The bank confirmed these records directly, I said. In writing. Here's their letter. I placed it on top of the stack. Gloria's hand twitched toward her champagne glass but stopped midway. Jenna stepped forward. And what about the $40,000 you told me Derek borrowed from Dad for his business? Derek never received a penny, Mom. I traced every transaction. The money went to a Chase account in your name. Jenna placed her own folder on the table. Thinner than mine, but just as damaging. The room was absolutely silent. Gloria's book club friends stared at their plates. A cousin I barely knew quietly excused herself and slipped out the back door. This is absurd, Gloria said, but her voice had climbed half an octave. Your father set up those loans before he died. I simply managed the paperwork after. Then how do you explain this? I asked, pulling out the printed email. This is an email Dad sent to his attorney 2 weeks before he died. He wrote that you had been making unauthorized withdrawals from the joint account. He was trying to protect Michael and Jenna's inheritance from you. I read the key line aloud. I need to ensure the children's inheritance is protected. Michael made a sound I'd never heard him make before, something between a gasp and a groan, like the air had been punched out of him. He stared at the email, then at his mother. Dad knew? He whispered. Gloria's face crumbled. Not the performative crying I'd expected, but a genuine collapse, like a building whose foundation had finally given way. She sat down heavily, her champagne sloshing over the rim of the glass. He never understood, she said, her voice shaking. After 30 years, he never understood what I needed. He gave everything to savings, to the mortgage, to the children's funds. And I got nothing. A grocery allowance. A clothing budget. Like I was a child myself. So you stole from your own kids, Jenna said flatly. I borrowed, Gloria corrected, but the word sounded hollow even as she said it. Borrowed, I repeated. Let's look at what you borrowed. I pulled out the spreadsheet I'd compiled, the one that had taken me weeks to finalize. The fake loan from Michael and me totaled $60,000. Payments we've already made total $16,800. The fake loan from Jenna and Derek totaled $40,000. Payments they've made total $11,200. Frank's email references $35,000 in unauthorized withdrawals before he died. That's $135,000 in documented theft, and $28,000 in payments you collected under false pretenses. I paused, letting the number sink in. And that doesn't include whatever you spent the money on, I continued. The kitchen renovation. The Sedona trip. The Nordstrom shopping sprees. The new furniture. The catered party we're sitting at right now. Gloria looked around her redecorated living room, as if seeing it for the first time. The marble countertops. The white sectional. The abstract art. Everything a monument to money that wasn't hers. Mom, Michael said, and his voice was so quiet I almost missed it. Lily's college fund. That's where our payment money was coming from. We've been draining our daughter's future to pay you back for money we never received. That broke something in the room. Michael's cousin, Tom, who'd been standing silently by the kitchen doorway, shook his head and walked out. Gloria's best friend, Diane, put down her champagne and followed him. I didn't know about Lily's fund, Gloria whispered. You never told me. We shouldn't have had to tell you, Michael replied. Because there shouldn't have been any payments in the first place. Gloria turned to me. Her mascara had started to run, but she wasn't doing the performance crying I'd expected. She looked genuinely gutted, which almost made me feel sorry for her. Almost. What do you want me to do? She asked. Jenna answered first. Full repayment. Every penny you took from all of us. Including the $28,000 in false loan payments. I can't, Gloria said. I don't have that kind of money anymore. Then you sell this house, Michael said, and the words landed like a hammer. Dad paid it off. It's worth $350,000 at least. You sell it, pay back what you owe, and figure out how to live within actual means for the first time in your life. This is my home, Gloria protested, but there was no fight left in her voice. And that $60,000 was our home, I said. Our security. Our daughter's education. You didn't think about that when you were posting spa selfies from Sedona. Jenna pulled out her phone. I have 37 screenshots of your Instagram from the last 2 years, Mom. Every trip, every purchase, every treating myself, caption. Time-stamped and matched to the withdrawals. If you want to fight this, we'll go to the police. Forging transactions through someone else's bank account is fraud. The word fraud hung in the air like smoke. Gloria seemed to physically shrink. Derek, who had been quiet through the entire confrontation, spoke for the first time. I almost lost my business, he said simply. My credit score dropped 100 points because I was stretching every dollar to make those payments. I had to turn down 3 contracts because I couldn't afford the materials up front. You almost destroyed everything I built. Gloria stared at the table. Her hands, still manicured, still wearing the diamond tennis bracelet she'd bought with stolen money, trembled against the white tablecloth. I'll sell the house, she said quietly. And the jewelry. And the car. And you'll get a job, Jenna added. A real one. Not volunteer work at the botanical garden. An actual job where you earn actual money. I'm 65, Gloria said. Dad worked until the day he got his diagnosis, Michael replied. At 67. With a bad knee and a worse back. You can work. The party was over. The last of Gloria's friends had slipped out during the confrontation, leaving behind half-eaten slices of cake and full champagne glasses. The caterer packed up in awkward silence, avoiding eye contact with everyone. As we gathered our things to leave, Gloria stopped me at the door. Just me. Michael and Jenna were already walking to the car with the kids. You must be very proud of yourself, she said, and for a moment I braced for the venom, the accusation, the "you turned my children against me" speech I'd been expecting. But it didn't come. Instead, she said, Frank would have handled this the same way. Quietly. Carefully. With evidence. She almost smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. He always said I'd get caught eventually. I thought he meant the credit cards. I didn't realize he knew about all of it. He loved you, I said, because despite everything, I believed that was true. He just loved his kids too. She nodded and closed the door. The aftermath was messy in the way real life always is. Gloria listed the house within 2 weeks. It sold for $340,000, slightly under asking because she needed the sale fast. After paying off the outstanding mortgage she'd secretly taken out, clearing the fake loans, reimbursing our payments and Jenna's, and settling with her attorney, she was left with about $90,000. Enough for a small apartment and a modest start. She got a job as a receptionist at a dental office. Part-time at first, then full-time when she realized how quickly $90,000 could shrink. Jenna told me Gloria cried in the parking lot after her first day because her feet hurt from standing in shoes that weren't designer. Derek's business recovered. Without the $800 monthly payment bleeding them dry, he was able to invest in new equipment and hire his first employee. He landed a contract with the city parks department that tripled his revenue. He never spoke to Gloria again. Michael and I rebuilt Lily's college fund. We started with the repayment money and added what we could each month. It would take years to get back to where we'd been, but we had time. Lily was only 6. The hardest part was watching Michael process the betrayal. He didn't rage or shout. He just went quiet for weeks, sitting on the porch after Lily's bedtime, staring at nothing. One night, I found him looking at an old photo of Frank. "You know what kills me?" he said without looking up. "Dad tried to warn us. That email to the lawyer. If he'd had 2 more weeks, he would have changed the will. He would have protected us. But he ran out of time, and Mom knew exactly what to do with the windows she had. I sat down beside him. We didn't say anything for a long time. 4 months after the retirement party, Gloria showed up at our house unannounced. She was driving a 10-year-old Civic she'd bought with cash. She wore jeans and a blouse from Target. No bracelet. No earrings. Her hair was shorter, practical, the gray coming in at the temples. She brought a cashier's check for $2,000. The first of many, she said. For Lily's fund. Michael stared at the check for a long time before taking it. "Thank you," he said. "And nothing else." As she turned to leave, Gloria paused on the front step. "The dental office has a bulletin board," she said. "One of the hygienists pinned up a quote last week. Something about how the most expensive thing you can own is your family's trust." She adjusted her purse, plain canvas, not leather. "I used to think that was sentimental nonsense. Now I think your father probably would have agreed with it." She walked to her Civic and drove away without waiting for a response. That night, Michael asked me something he'd never asked before. "How did you know?" he said. "When Mom first mentioned the loan, I believed her completely. I didn't even question it." "How did you know she was lying?" "Because I pay attention," I said. "I know every dollar that comes in and out of our accounts." "Your mother counted on you not checking." "She counted on trust." He was quiet for a moment. "Dad paid attention too," he said. "He just ran out of time to do something about it." I thought about Frank's email, the one he never got to follow through on. The will he never got to change. The children he tried to protect from beyond the grave with nothing but a single email to a lawyer who received it 2 days after his death. "We got lucky," I said. Michael shook his head. "Luck had nothing to do with it. You did the work. You caught her. If you hadn't, she would have kept going until there was nothing left." He was right. Gloria had already been probing his retirement account. I'd found the inquiry 3 days before the party, a phone call from Gloria to the account manager, asking about withdrawal procedures. The manager had flagged it because Gloria wasn't authorized on the account. If I hadn't forced the confrontation when I did, she would have found another way in. Some people think money problems are about money. They're not. They're about power, and trust, and the stories people tell to justify taking what isn't theirs. Gloria didn't steal because she was desperate. She stole because she believed she was owed. Because 30 years of being given a grocery allowance had convinced her that the family's money was being kept from her, rather than managed for everyone's benefit. I don't hate her for it. I understand it, even if I'll never excuse it. Jenna and Gloria still aren't speaking. Jenna says she needs more time. Which might mean years. Might mean forever. That's her right. Derek definitely will never speak to her again, and nobody pushes him on it. Michael calls his mother every Sunday. The conversations are short, 5 minutes maybe, and they talk about surface things. The weather. Lily's school. What Gloria made for dinner. They don't talk about the money. Not yet. Maybe someday. Gloria sends a check every month. Always $2,000. Always a cashier's check. Always with a sticky note that just says for Lily. She hasn't missed one. Last month, Lily came home from school with a permission slip for a science camp. Overnight, 3 days, $450. She handed it to me with the look kids get when they already expect the answer to be no. I signed it that night. When I tucked her in, she asked me why I was smiling. I told her it was because some things are worth more than money, and that she should never let anyone make her feel guilty for protecting what matters. She nodded seriously, the way 6-year-olds do when they're pretending to understand something they'll figure out later. Someday, she'll understand. Someday, I'll tell her about the grandmother who loved expensive things more than honest ones, and the grandfather who tried to fix it but ran out of time, and the mother who finished what he started. But not tonight. Tonight, she's dreaming about science camp. And that, I think, is exactly what Frank would have wanted.